Hey everybody, Ryan here at Etrailer.com. Today on our 2010 Subaru Outback Wagon, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the CURT Class 1 Trailer Hitch Receiver. Now, one of my favorite things about this hitch, although it is mostly visible, it does blend in nicely with the back of our Subaru, and many of our customers don't mind the look of it. This is going to be a great hitch, especially if you already have those 1¼ inch accessories. It's also going to give us plenty of clearance, and that's going to work perfect with those folding bike racks. Now, this is a Class 1 hitch, so it's going to have that 1¼ inch by 1¼ inch receiver tube opening, and it's also going to have a reinforced collar for extra strength. It is going to have a 1/2 inch size pinhole, which, keep in mind, it does not come included with a pin and clip, but if you need one, you can find it here at Etrailer.com. It's also going to have plate-style safety chain openings, which aren't huge, but they are open enough to use just about any size hook that we might have. Now, as far as weight capacities go, our hitch is going to give us a 2,000 pound maximum gross trailer weight rating. That's going to be the amount of weight pulling on our hitch, so the weight of your trailer plus anything you might have on it. It's also going to have a 200 pound maximum tongue weight rating, so the amount of weight pushing down on our hitch. So that's going to be perfect for those 1 and 2 bike racks. Now, keep in mind, CURT does require the use of a stabilizer strap for all non-trailer loads, and if you need one, you can find it here at Etrailer. It's also a good idea to check with your Subaru's owner's manual to make sure your Subaru can pull that amount of weight. Now, if you do plan on doing a little light-duty towing every now and again, I'd recommend picking up some trailer wiring. That way you're safe and legal. Now I'm going to give you a couple of measurements. You're going to use these to figure out which hitch-mounted accessories to use. From the ground to the top inside edge of our receiver tube opening, that's about 11 inches. You're going to use that to figure out if you need to get a ball mount with either a drop or a rise. From the center of the hitch pinhole to the edge of a rear bumper, that's about 2 inches. You're going to use that to figure out if any folding accessories you might have can be stored in the upright position without contacting the bumper. Now, to get this hitch installed can be a little tricky, but it's really not too bad. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and put it on together now. To begin our installation, we're going to need to lower our exhaust. But before we do that, I'm going to use a strap from one side to the other. That way the exhaust can have some support. We're going to need to remove 5 exhaust isolator hangers. We're going to have 2 on each end of our muffler, and if you go a little closer to the front of the car, we're going to have 1 more right here. Now, to get these off, it's a good idea to spray them down with either some soapy water or just some lubricant, and it makes a lot easier to remove. I'll take a pry bar and pry one of the ends of our hanger off the exhaust. And I'm going to use that same technique to get the rest of them removed. With all of our hangers removed, we can now loosen up our strap a little bit, let the exhaust down some to give us some more room to work. Now, on each side of our frame rail, we're going to have 2 rubber plugs that we're going to need to remove. To get them out, just take a flathead screwdriver and pry underneath them. And work them out like that. Now we're going to have to enlarge the bigger hole in our frame rail closest to the front of our Subaru. We're going to need to do that, that way our hardware can fit inside of the frame rail. I'm just going to use a stepper bit to get that done. You can also use a file or even a Dremel tool. And this is about how big you need to enlarge that access hole. You just need it big enough to where your spacer block hardware can easily fit inside, as well as the head of your bolt. Now, one of these bolts is also going to drop down through this hole closer to the bumper, But the bolt is just a little too big to fit through that hole, so we need to enlarge that a little bit, big enough to where this bolt can fit through the hole. Now the other side is set up the exact same way, so just repeat that same process over there. Now what I like to do is take some spray paint and just paint that bare metal from them enlarged holes. That way it'll help prevent any rust or anything like that. Now we can get our hardware in place. And we're going to start with this front smaller hole. We're going to take our Fishwire, the coiled end of it, and push it through that smaller hole towards the front of the vehicle. And we're going to want to grab the coiled end through our access hole. We have it down out of the frame rail. We're going to put on our 7/16 spacer block. And this will be the block that is a little bit shorter than the other ones. Just slide that on first. We're going to take our 7/16 bolt and thread that in. What we can do is work our hardware in through that access hole and pull it towards the back and get it to drop out like that. Now the larger hole is going to be a little bit different. We're going to use the reverse Fishwire technique. And so what I went ahead and did was thread on our 1/2-inch bolt onto the coiled end of our Fishwire, and then put our larger spacer block on. And what we're going to do is just push that up into the frame rail. We're going to start with our bolt, put the block in, and get it to drop out like that. Now do the same thing on the other side. Now before we put our hitch into place, on the back of the hitch, or the end that'll be closest to the front of our vehicle, we're going to have to put on this spacer block. Now what I like to do is actually just line it up with our hole and tape it to the hitch. That way it stays in place and it's a lot easier to work with. And I also tape that block to the other side of the hitch. Now keep in mind, from here on out, anything that we do to one side, we're going to do to the other. Now with an extra set of hands, we can lift our hitch into place, pull our fish wires through the corresponding holes in the hitch. Now we can line up the holes in our hitch with our hardware, pull those fish wires off and out of the way, and then secure it using our provided nuts. That's a good idea to get one started on each side. That way the hitch will support itself while we work on getting the rest of them on. With all of our hardware in place and hand tight, we can go ahead and snug it all down. Now we can use a torque wrench to torque down all of our hardware according to the specification that we found in our instructions. Now we can rehang our exhaust the same way that we removed it. Now with our exhaust supporting itself, we can remove our support strap. And that'll do it for our look at and our installation of the CURT Class 1 Trailer Hitch Receiver on our 2010 Subaru Outback Wagon.